Hi, LeaderTribe. Dr. Rob again. So great to have you with us. We're in a 4-week series of some unbelievable research that came from this month's Harvard Business Review. If you were with us last week, you already know the study and the implications of it. If not, I'm going to recap it really quick, but make sure to go back and watch last week's blog because I sort of set up the whole study on that one, and you'll find it amazing as we went over the first behavior that excellent CEOs do so well time and time again. It's something that both you and I can do. So basically we got a study. It took 10 years of study. They looked at 17,000 people, including 2,000 CEOs, and they were trying to find out what makes a good candidate for CEO, the people who are going to, which people get hired versus which don't get hired when they want to become a CEO. But then way more important than that, of those, some of them succeed and do fantastic. A lot of them are kind of medium, and then 25% of them end up getting fired, which is unbelievable if you think about it. 25% of the Fortune 500 CEOs getting fired. That just costs so much money to those people. So what is it that makes those people at the top so great? Well, what they did is, after looking at all of those and seeing how they got hired in the first place and what gave them the long-term capabilities to be great CEOs, they discovered 4 behaviors that those CEOs did over and over and over again that made them really fantastic. These are the behaviors that set them apart. One of the things that was not on there, their level of education. Other things that weren't on there had anything to do, we think of CEOs as like some 6 foot tall, white, educated. Certainly this survey would get rid of all of that. There is nothing about these CEOs as far as how they looked, whether they were fat or skinny or tall or short, that had anything to do with their behaviors that led the companies to greatness. And so last week we found out that the best CEOs, they make a great decision and they make it quickly, and they'd rather make a wrong decision than make no decision at all. They really have a decision-making orientation. This week it's number 2. You know what it is? It's the word engaging. Engage. We talk about employee engagement. We talk about student engagement. Where there's something about engagement, somebody who's all there and who's dialed in. The best CEOs did that. They actually engaged in 3 ways. There's 3 things that they did, and then there's a couple of things that they did not do. 3 ways that they engaged. Number 1, they engaged with their shareholders. We'll talk about that. Number 2, they engaged with the team members. And then number 3, they engaged in conflict, and they did it very, very well. First of all, they engaged with the shareholders, but not just, and those are the people who were over them, their bosses, the board of directors, the people who are investing, the people who are investing in the company. They engaged with them, but they did it, listen to this, with a results orientation. A results orientation. Oh, this is so important. It's certainly been important in the organizations I've had the privilege of leading. You have 2 different kinds of people. Some people want to tell you about all of their efforts or all the things that they've done. They said, hey, we had 19 sales conferences. And I want to go, yeah, did you sell anything? Hey, next year we're going to double that. We're going to have almost 40 sales conferences next year. Yeah, I got a question. Did you sell anything? The conferences are great. We get all kinds of great feedback. People have the time of their lives at our sales conference. And you just want to go, did you sell anything? Come on, tell me. People want to talk about their efforts, not about the results. The best CEOs would always focus on the results. And guess what? Sometimes the results weren't that good, but they were honest about it. They could talk to their investors, their shareholders, the people who were their bosses, who were on the board of directors. They could talk to them and say, here's what we're going after. Here's what we expect. Here's how we're going to measure it. And here's what we found out the results were. And the results were better than we expected, or the results weren't very good. Here's what we're doing to change it. But they kept that focus on the results. So they stayed engaged with their bosses on the results, not just on their efforts. Number 2, they engaged with their team members, with their employees. They didn't just go and say, hey, how's it going? You doing well? I'm doing well. How's everybody doing? Are we all doing well? It wasn't about that. It's help me understand what you're doing. Help me understand what I should be looking for in your area. They were always going to those employees and talking to them and saying, what do you think that we're not doing that we should be doing? What questions should I be asking that I'm not asking? What's the very best thing that I could be doing next? Why would you say that? Help me understand why you're doing this. Why aren't you doing that? They were engaged in a conversation ongoing with their team members. They didn't just kind of say, oh yeah, I checked in on everyone, everyone's good. No. They were engaged. This is their life. If the team's doing great, their company's going to do great. Third thing they were engaged in was conflict. Amazing. Let me make sure I get the stats right on this one. The people who engaged in conflict stood a 3 times better chance of actually getting to the CEO port, and then about a 15 times better chance of doing well versus the ones who got fired. The people who got fired, they kind of avoided conflict. Others, you're not doing conflict for conflict's sake. What you're doing in conflict is you're saying, I don't get that. No, I disagree. What about that? And you're sharing your opinions back and forth in a way that really matters. We've talked about that a lot before because when we looked at Patrick Lencioni's work in 5 Dysfunctions, we really hit that conflict piece hard. Conflict is so great if you get the right team around you. We'll talk a little bit actually about that in the next video that we do that's on the third essential behavior of the CEO. In this one, let me tell you what they didn't do. They didn't waste any time trying to be liked or trying to protect their team from painful decisions. They didn't waste any time or any energy trying to be liked. Well, does this person like me? What about, here's what they found out. The CEOs who failed, the ones who ended up getting fired, they spent an inordinate amount of time trying to make sure that people like them and then trying to protect some of the people from the painful decisions that had to be made. Not the best CEOs. They didn't worry because what happens is as soon as you're engaging and as soon as you're producing results, people are going to like you. It doesn't matter how they feel about you or what you look like. Don't worry about how people feel about you. Try every day to do your very best for them and to add value to your lives. If you can be doing that, it's amazing what happens. Then all the right indicators, positive indicators go way up. Don't waste energy trying to worry about what people think about you, and don't protect your people from the painful decisions. Instead, invite them in. What do you have to do to do that? Here's what you have to do. You have to stay engaged. Hey, you're going to love this week's free download. It has to do with 7 questions that you can ask to be engaged with friends, family members, and then at work. 7 questions for engagement. I know you're going to love it. Hey, this is Dr. Rob. If you're watching this anywhere other than at LeaderTribe.com, jump over there, leave a comment. Most importantly, go ahead and subscribe. I send these out every week. I give freebies every week. I love doing that, and I want to do that for you. And so thanks again for what you're doing as far as growing yourself and for being a part of LeaderTribe.